Hi and welcome to my channel. Today I want to share with you how you can handle things in a really positive way, even under the worst, most horrific type of circumstances, okay? So it's really amazing that all the people that I learn from and follow right now, I mean, I tend to grow with different people and I learn what I meant to learn from someone, then I move on to someone else and then I learn from them. And anyway, I've gotten to a point in my life now where I sort of decide that I'm just going to stay neutral and be okay with every situation that I'm in and do whatever it takes to feel good now. And so what happened was we were doing a fabulous dog sit in Teignmouth in Devon in the UK, and we were staying less than a half of a block from the beach. We were looking after a fabulous 1-year-old puppy named Jet, and he was absolutely the best little guy ever. We were there for 6 weeks. And this is like how big of a fluke this is, okay? So we were literally waiting for about 20 minutes until the owners arrived home. We cleaned up the place beautifully, had all the sheets and bedding, everything done and ready to go, and the dog was all happy and we were all happy, and I thought, well, I'm gonna go out and get dinner later, but right now I should maybe make up some smoothies so that they can fill themselves up and feel good for when they come home. So they didn't have a blender, so I decided to use one of those food processors with a really sharp blade that just kind of sits in the bottom. Anyway, I poured Dwayne in mine, I put it in the fridge, and then I made theirs, and I was pouring them out, and just at the very end, the blade fell out of the food processor and landed on the top of my foot. And I thought, oh geez, now I got all this smoothie on the floor to clean up. It's all over my brand new clean sock. And I'm like, ah. So I take the cloth and I wipe it and I'm thinking, ow, my foot really burned. What the heck is that? So I realized that my sock was cut, maybe just under an inch. And under that, my foot was cut and bleeding really bad. So I cleaned up the mess and I quickly went and I cleaned up my foot and it wouldn't stop bleeding. So I did whatever I could to get the bleeding to stop. Got a Band-Aid, bled through the Band-Aid. Sorry to be graphic. I'm thinking, oh, no problem. This will be fine. So I let them know that I had a bit of an accident and that I wouldn't be able to walk the dog. So when they got there, they were going to have to walk the dog, and they wanted to walk the dog anyway, so it was all perfect. But I really couldn't walk very well, and I thought, okay, this is really ridiculous for such a small little cut, And so I looked after it. Finally, my partner put me to bed and went out to work, and I went back to bed, and I was noticing my mind was really racing and there was a lot of negativity, and I was having a really hard time getting comfortable, and I was tossing back and forth, and I thought, this is really strange. I really have to take care of my mind. And so I went into like a really strong meditation where I just prayed and I sent blessings, and I fell into this deep state of gratitude that no matter what happened, no matter what was happening to my foot, and no matter what I did to myself, I was grateful for it. And eventually, what was a miracle was that being in that state of gratitude completely put me to sleep. Now, I never believed in a million years that I would actually be able to go to sleep. It was either a new moon or a full moon, and on those events, I don't usually sleep very well anyway. But for some reason I fell asleep, and when I woke up and I checked my foot, it was still bleeding, so I knew that blade went in really deep. Anyway, we packed up the last little bit we could. I tried not to walk too much. And our friends, they were so lovely. They drove us all the way to this Exeter airport, which was very close, but it was the local little airport. We bought our tickets to Athens in, and he insisted he drive us right to the front, and I thought, yeah, I guess I need to. I guess I need to go to the front. And he goes, just go in that door, everything will be fine. And we walked inside that door, and I'm not kidding, okay? The lady looks at me and she goes, I'm so sorry to tell you guys, but your flight is delayed over an hour. So that means that when you get to Amsterdam, you're going to have to run to try and catch your plane. But if you don't make your plane, they'll put you up in a hotel. And I said, well, that's pretty funny because there's no way I'm running for any plane. I actually hurt myself yesterday and I'm not going to be able to run. In fact, I'm having a hard enough time walking. She goes, no worries, no worries. We will get you help. So a private car is going to come and collect you at the airport and they'll take care of everything. Don't worry. And I said, but what about, she goes, don't worry. Everybody will be there for you. We'll set it all up from our end and you'll be taken care of. I was like, wow, okay, great. So I hobbled around the corner and sat down and waited for this delayed plane. And even just sitting was extremely excruciating because I couldn't really get comfortable. I don't even know where the pain was. It seemed to be like at my upper ankle, not where the cut was. It was really, really weird. So I thought, okay, this is great. So we got on the plane and KLM Air, they are absolutely fabulous, okay? The Netherlands airline, they're so fabulous. They gave us a snack and complimentary beverages, and I mean even like beer and wine if you wanted that, and flew us to Amsterdam. And about 20 minutes before we landed, they named off all the different cities that weren't going to make that airline, like at that exact meeting point. They said, oh, you're not going to meet up with this person and this group and this group. And they said all these cities, but they didn't say ours, which meant it's going to work out. So Dwayne and I decided that it was going to be okay no matter what. If we got a hotel, that would be an excellent adventure. If we didn't get a hotel and we had to be pushed through that night and get a taxi or Uber in the middle of the night to get a ride to our home exchange, that would be great too. So we just remained neutral. So the stewardess was listening and paying attention too, and she says, I'm not really sure, but here, just wait until everyone gets off the airplane and your ride will show up right at the front of the plane. But here's 2 complimentary water bottles. And we were like, wow, this is amazing. So we tucked the water bottle into our backpacks and I hobbled off the airline, got off the plane, and there was our ride. So these 2 beautiful ladies picked us up from KLM, and one lady said, there's no way you're gonna make your airplane. Like, no way. So we're just gonna take you into the airport and we're gonna get you hooked up with your hotel, your vouchers, your complimentary breakfast, and everything else that you're gonna get from KLM. And I said, oh, that's fantastic. So they drove us all the way around this huge airport. I mean, I've never been there, so I had no idea what I was in for, but she drove and drove and drove and drove and finally parked it, and I hobbled inside, maybe 6 steps, and this lady, this beautiful young sparkling lady, showed up with a wheelchair, and this other lady needed a ride, and she was really hopeful that the wheelchair was for her, but it was actually for me. The lady said, I'm here looking for Bobby McWilliams. And I said, that's me. Couldn't believe it. I was going to be in a wheelchair. That's crazy. So anyway, I hopped in that wheelchair and she wheeled us all around this massive airport and took us to these other 2 beautiful women who printed off all these vouchers for that night in the airport in case we were hungry and needed a snack, for the shuttles, for the airport, for the airplane, for everything that you could ever imagine. She goes, don't worry, breakfast and lunch is included in your airport stay, so no matter what you want, you're covered, and that'll all be there. And the lady put us back on the road with our vouchers, and away we went. We got past all the lines. We went to the front of every line. It was incredible. Like, we went through security, airport security, and boom, away we go, boom, away we go. It was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, the divine was totally taking care of me. And I really, truly believe that was because of all the prayer that I did the night before and just being in gratitude, because gratitude brings more things to be grateful for. I believe that 150%. So anyway, she got us to the shuttle, and she said, so when you come back, you push the button on that blue pole and we'll come back and pick you up in the morning and we'll get you to your flight. Just be here at 10:15. So my partner, he looked at me and he said, hey, we have a $30 voucher. Why don't we go and see if we could find something to eat, because the hotel dining room is closed. I said, that's a great idea. Let's go. So he wheeled me around, got me off the shuttle area. We went back into the airport and we looked around and everything was closing. And I thought, oh, poop. He said, well, honey, there's Burger King and there's sandwiches or beer. And I said, honey, look over there. It's Tony Chocoloni's, our favorite chocolate that we buy in the UK that comes from somewhere else in Europe. It's all free trade chocolate and it's amazing, right? So I said, how many Tony's Chocolonis can you buy for 30 euros? And he goes, 13. I go, fantastic. So he grabbed 13 chocolate bars, put them on the counter, and the lady said, is that all? And we said, that's all. We handed her the vouchers, and literally we came within 10 cents of the total that we had on the vouchers. So we were so excited. We got some Tony Chocolonis, put it into our backpack, and zipped down to the shuttle to get into the hotel. So Dwayne parked me right in front of the shuttle bus where she said that particular shuttle comes. And within 30 seconds, a shuttle pulled up. We jumped in, got seated. Then all of a sudden, there was a mass exodus to the shuttle. And you heard this man yell out, but I've been waiting for an hour. And Dwayne and I are like, oh, shoot, we just got right on. And Dwayne says, that's what gratitude does. It makes everything work out in total synchronicity. I couldn't agree more, I'm telling you. So then I said, wow, that poor driver, he's got to listen to these miserable characters all the time. They're missing their flights, they're missing their meetings, they're missing their appointments, they're missing their weddings, they're missing whatever there is, right? We're not really missing anything. We're just being totally blessed that we're getting a beautiful hotel, we're getting fed, and we're going to get to our stop the next day. Who cares? Right? So I said, why don't we give that driver that one extra chocolate bar? We got 13, so we've got one extra. So why don't we give that driver our extra chocolate bar? And he says, that's a great idea. So I said, woohoo! So we got to the hotel. He dropped us off, and I happily gave him this chocolate bar, and he lit up like a Christmas tree with so much delight and gratitude. Our hearts were full. We blessed him, and we went into the beautiful the airport hotel that they supplied for us. It was a gorgeous hotel, I gotta tell you. So anyway, we walked to the front of the line, and all of a sudden this lady budged right in front of us, and we both just smiled and whatever, let her go. And when it came our turn, she went, and she was such a beautiful girl. Wow, from the Netherlands, tall, beautiful skin, long hair. She was thin, beautiful. And Dwayne said, wow, you look like the poster woman for the Netherlands. She was just so tickled, right? And she went to hand us our key, and I said, that's a king-size bed, right? And she says, no, it's 2 twins, because it was a last-minute booking. She looked at her manager and pulled her in, and I go, oh, that's too bad. We haven't slept comfortably together in ages. And she goes, we gave you an upgrade. Yep, we got an upgrade. So she gave us this fabulous hotel room with this huge king-size bed, a massive 2-person soaker bathtub, and we had a beautiful night, honestly. We woke up in the morning, and the restaurant was absolutely stunning. The food was out of this world and something we never, ever expected. We got to make our own cappuccinos. We had our own homemade omelets. We had beautiful croissants, chocolate-filled croissants. And it was absolutely stunning. I have to tell you, KLM, you're amazing. Got back to the airport the next day. They came with another young guy that drove me all around the airport. He happened to be a trader, just like Dwayne. And they had a fabulous conversation the entire way. Dwayne inspired him. He inspired Dwayne. It was like a meeting of the minds. And we got on our airplane and had a fabulous trip all the way to Athens. And that's when the craziness began. We got to our place. We got inside. It was absolutely perfect. And when I woke up, I realized that my big toe wasn't working. You know, when you go to lift up your toe and it kind of just dangles there, and I tried to lift up my toe and the other ones lift up, but not my toe. So I said, I think we need to go to see a doctor. So we went to a hospital, and it was a private hospital, and they didn't have anyone for 2 days. So they suggested we go to a public hospital, which we had to take 2 subways to, and the subway's right down the street. So this is amazing. We were blessed, honestly, beyond belief. We got to that hospital, and it was crazy chaos. Blood, naked bodies, everybody being shipped here and there, people everywhere running down the halls. It was absolute chaos. I mean, you know what it's like to go to an emergency ward, okay? This was like an emergency ward times 10 on a slow day for them, okay? So I went there, and after 3 lineups, the doctor says to me, when did you do this cut on your foot? And I said, 2 days ago. He goes, there's nothing we can do. You can just wash it up and go. And I said, no. I paid for a doctor. My toe isn't working. There's something wrong with the tendon. Do you know what a tendon is? He goes, well, yeah, I know what a tendon is. I'm a doctor. And I go, well, my toe's hanging there, so I think I do need to see a doctor. So I'd really like you just to let me see a doctor, and let's see if there's anything I can do to take care of it until I get back home. And so he writes this big, long script. And I go and wait to look at the doctors. And this young doctor with this nice beard, red hair, super sweet and kind. And he looks at it, and he calls on one of his colleagues, and they both look at it and they say, well, something's definitely off here. And we only have 1 ultrasound in the entire hospital. And the doctor that runs that ultrasound, he'll be back at 9:00 p.m. Would you be able to come back? So my partner and I said, we're definitely coming back because we want to see what's going on. So we went for dinner, came back about an hour earlier than they wanted us, and just waited. And of course, there's way more chaos now in the hospital. People being shipped left, right, and center. People crying, yelling, screaming, moaning. Oh my gosh, everywhere. These poor people. Anyway, later on, that young second doctor, the flower guy, super serious guy, comes out and he goes, listen, we're going to take you downstairs and we're going to get this ultrasound and just got to follow me. Okay. He goes, do you have health insurance? And we said, no, we'll just pay out of pocket, whatever we need to pay for this hospital. We'll do whatever it needs. It's okay. Don't worry about it. And he goes, you sure you don't have health insurance? We're like, no, we don't have health insurance. So he walks us into like the basement of the hospital. I call it the hotel because my best friend used to call it that. He walked us down there and he goes, so, are you just in Athens for a little vacation? And I said, oh no, we've been in the UK for 6 months looking after people's dogs. And his entire demeanor changes. He goes, you love dogs? And he pulls out his camera and shows us his dog. He says, this is my dog. I love her so much. He goes, wow, you love dogs? We're like, we love dogs. And he says, I am so happy you guys love dogs. And from that moment on, this guy did everything to take care of us. Walked us in to see the most gentle, kind, loving, tall, beautiful Greek doctor. He put the ultrasound on my good foot and showed what the good tendon looked like. And then he went to the other foot. And the younger doctor said, I'm sorry, but you've completely ruptured your tendon. I've what? You've ruptured your tendon? And my partner says, you've cut it in half. They're in 2 parts. And the space, the gap is like that big. Oh my God. The fear, the dread went right down into my gut, and I thought I was going to barf. I really did. The young doctor said, okay, I got to go upstairs. I've got tons of patients. I'll see you guys back up there. Meet me back up there. We'll talk about it. So then we talked to this gentle, kind, beautiful, tall doctor that ran the ultrasound machine, and he says, if I were you, I'd get the surgery. You're young enough. You're active. He goes, you need your toe, to your big toe. It operates so much of your walking. You won't walk the same. Everything will be different. You'll probably hurt yourself often if you don't get that tendon fixed. Oh my God, I felt so sick as I walked back upstairs to go to see that other doctor. And we got upstairs and we waited and we waited and we waited and waited an hour, hour and a half. And finally that young doctor came back out and he says, listen, so you can operate on this in a month. That's all the time you've got. But I said, we'll still be on our cruise in a month. We won't be at our place for like a month and a half. And he goes, oh, you don't have health insurance. I said, that's okay. We can pay something. What does it cost? Again, he totally avoided the question. So all of a sudden he huddled with, I guess, the nurse, another surgeon, and another orthopedic doctor. They all huddled, they talked, he got on the phone, he called another surgeon, and then all of a sudden, two of the main surgeons of the hospital came downstairs and said, okay, come on. They pulled me into the back room because all the surgery rooms with all the bright lights were full. They were full, they were jammed. They had people in there for days. And we were leaving on a cruise on Saturday, tomorrow. So he goes, come on in here, pulls out the bed, puts this pad on it. I barely have time to put my headphones in my ear. Like this, I am so freaked out. They send my partner out of the room. I'm absolutely freaking out. I'm sweating profusely. They jam this massive needle into my foot. They open up the entire foot. I mean, here I am laughing that I'm going to have another scar on my foot, this little scar. Oh no. They cut my foot open like a book. And it was the most traumatizing thing I've ever been through because although I didn't feel any pain, you can feel everything they're doing. They're cutting this muscle, they're moving this, they're trying to find these tendons. They were not having very much success finding the tendons. It was absolutely the most brutal thing you could ever imagine. And now I know why the inside of my shin hurt. It was because that one tendon was lodged up into my leg. Not to be dramatic or anything, but it was absolutely disgusting. At 35 minutes, they're like, can you feel the pain? I said, no, but if you could just get my husband, he'll come and calm me down. He's a healer, he'll help me. And this guy says, what's his name? I'll go get him. He went and got my partner. He sat with me, he stroked my hair, he put his hand on my chest. I was soaked from head to toe. I had my hand covering his hand, and every time I felt something, I would just wince, but I tried so hard not to move. It was absolutely excruciating. And then they found the tendon, and it was like everybody settled. And like they were trading doctors, trying, one doctor. There were 4 of them working on me. And then when they found the tendon, they sutured it together. And then my partner said, okay, they're going to sew you up now. And I knew that that was going to be the worst part. And it was, believe me. And what was really, really, really intense and incredible was that I experienced and I understood what every young man of war went through when he was put through surgery with little or no anesthesia, with no love or care, with no one to hold their hand or be with them, with local anesthetic, and all you can do is feel what's going on, and you can experience every single thing. It's like so incredibly traumatic. And at that point, I just sucked it up. It was like I got this extra strength, and I just sucked it up, and I grabbed Dwayne's hand and I squeezed it super hard, and I just got through those stitches. And it was like he sewed it and then pulled the whole thing through. It was like the most burning, awful pain that I could ever go through. But I survived. He did that a few more times until all the stitches were done. My entire foot was cut open, so there was a lot of work to be done. My partner said he didn't do it in any kind of plastic surgery kind of way. So, it's going to be a really beautiful scar. I'm really excited because, that's going to be like a gift. I'm going to get to look at that and see how strong that made me because, wow, to go through that is absolutely extraordinary. And then they put a cast on me and made my foot stand straight up like this. And they said, you can't put any weight on this cast for 6 weeks. Not any weight. You cannot put any weight on this cast. You're going to need to take care of yourself. You're going to need to do therapy. You're going to have all these scripts. I need painkillers. They gave me the worst painkillers. They're like over-the-counter Tylenol. I'm telling you, it was ridiculous. But maybe that's why they don't have a drug problem in Athens, okay? Or Greece, for that matter. I don't know. I have to suffer through and take an antibiotic and take a year to heal my gut, because that's what it takes every time you take antibiotics. You got to heal your gut after that. Strengthen my immune system. And then the orthopedic surgeon, that young guy, put me in that wheelchair, and he wheeled me through the hospital out to where the taxis pick you up. I mean, how many orthopedic surgeons put you on a wheelchair and wheel you out the hospital? He says, you know why I'm doing this? And I'm thinking, oh, he's so sweet. He goes, to get away from all that mess. So Dwayne and I laughed our heads off, and we didn't care. We got out there to the taxi stand, and I said, listen, his phone died. I've got no Wi-Fi to call Uber. So he hotspotted me. We called an Uber. He wheeled us down to the gate of the hospital, and he waited until that Uber came and picked us up, and we got our ride back to our place. So, you know, the moral of this story is to have faith, to pray, to be grateful. Being neutral is a lot better than being upset. I mean, being upset was really, it just made things worse. I never told you about the candy striper, that beautiful little girl who wore 2 masks, you know, like she needed 2 masks in the hospital. As soon as she saw the tears welling up in my eyes, she came over and distracted me with some sort of story. And she really helped me to get out of my ego in that mind that was going to take me down into something really, really deep and awful. And she helped me. She helped me a lot. And I wanted to mention her as well. We got back to our place, got into our home exchange. Beautiful little 1-bedroom right here in Athens, in central Athens. Absolutely perfect. The most comfortable bed ever. Beautiful, beautiful place all around. And my partner carried me up all the way to the 2nd floor. And I just want to express how important it is to be grateful, to be thankful, to love dogs, because I forgot the most important part of this story. When we got outside, the surgeon said to me, by the way, we're not charging you for this surgery. And I know that it was because we love dogs. I know that sounds crazy. But he arranged all those doctors after we told him how much we love dogs. They came in totally willing. He says, this is just what we do. We're Greek. This is what we do. Wow. Totally traumatizing. Massive pain. I can't even begin to tell you. Massive pain. But massive gratitude. I couldn't have been more blessed and more taken care of by the divine than I was 2 nights ago. And now I'm healing, and I have a wheelchair for the cruise. Yay! So that's going to be an experience, but I know this is a long one, and I'm sorry if you have to suffer through. Put it on fast forward. But I'm just telling you, having faith and having gratitude and staying neutral is really the best way to be. It got us onto that synchronistic timeline that drove us through that airport with ease and grace and got us that upgrade in that hotel, the waters, the vouchers, the chocolonis, and all those blessings and all those doctors. Could you imagine having 4 surgeons working on you at once? They were all young and all beautiful, honestly. Yeah, what an experience. Worst experience of my life, and the best experience of my life. One that I'll remember forever. I never got to see the Acropolis, but Dwayne's down there now taking pictures for me while he picks up my homeopathy. And I'll get to see the pictures, and that's good. And I'm super grateful. Anyway, I hope you like this story. I hope this helps you in some way. Be strong. You can do it. We can get through anything. If I can do it, you can do it.